Today is February 16th, 2025, and welcome to the 428th episode of the Video Games podcast. Here in the show, I talk about any game at all, including new stuff, old stuff, and anything in between. My name is Brad Galloway. I'm the one-man host of the show, and I'm also the editor of GameCritics.com, a website that uses the full range of review scores from 0 to 10, while also offering full accessibility information on every review that we publish. Hello! Thank you so much for joining me this lovely Sunday, or whatever day you're listening, doesn't matter. As per usual, going to kick things off with housekeeping, where I discuss tidbits, news, items, industry happenings, basically anything randomly game adjacent that has caught my eye in the last 7 days. Alright, first up, I guess I should probably talk about the PlayStation State of Play, which debuted, a couple days ago by the time I'm recording this, maybe 3-4 days ago. The whole family and I gathered around to see what's new on the PlayStation horizon. And, they showed a bunch of trailers, which was cool. I really do like the approach of just showing trailers and nothing else. I don't want to hear a lot of chatter from the stuffed shirts or the suits or the money men. I don't want to hear about any kind of techno-babble kind of stuff. I want to just see the goods. And so I appreciate that it's just trailers. I mean, I wouldn't mind a little bit from the devs, a couple words here or there, but not some long drawn out thing, not like we used to get at E3 back in the day. So the new trailer approach is very welcome. So I thought the format was good. As for the show itself, there were some highlights, but I think overall I was kind of, is nonplussed the word, I guess. I think my big takeaway was that as I was watching these trailers, a lot of these things looked the same as other things, and those things remind me of things I've played before, and I didn't see like a whole ton of originality or creativity. And I guess, I don't know, what am I trying to say? I feel like perhaps we're reaching the stage where the people who are making games, and I mean no disrespect to game developers at all, just as kind of an observation, and I could be totally wrong, but I think that maybe we're getting games from people whose only inspiration is other games. And so we're starting to see like cyclical influences and themes that are repeated over and over because, for example, during the State of Play, there was a lot of games that looked like Final Fantasy, but weren't. It was like Final Fantasy plus Devil May Cry or Final Fantasy plus some other kind of RPG influence or Final Fantasy, but it's from China or something like that. And I just can't help but feel like, yeah, but like do something different like this. If you looked at a couple screenshots side by side, I think you'd be hard pressed to tell which game was which without really taking a long time to look at things. And, for me, I play a lot of games, obviously, and what I really like is new and interesting and fresh. And I'll take a game that has like, not low caliber graphics, but, low graphics in the sense that it didn't take $10 bajillion to make, simple graphics, pixel graphics, stylized graphics. I'll take anything that isn't pushing, the bleeding edge of graphics design if there's a great idea in it. Cool gameplay, a new twist, some kind of hook I haven't seen before. That's way more important to me than the graphics. And I felt like as I was watching the State of Play, it was just graphics. And I didn't see a lot that really lit me on fire as far as like, I really want to play that. Or, oh my God, it looks amazing. Like, I just didn't see a lot of that. I think, a lot of good game developers that I respect kind of give a similar piece of advice, and that piece of advice generally is do something that's outside of games in order to inspire yourself or to give yourself the creative energy you need to make something that's worthwhile, right? Miyamoto was famously quoted as saying that he got inspiration from walking around in his garden or in the caves that were near his house, and so that was kind of what led to a lot of his earlier development. Or, perhaps reading a book or something, or watching a movie, I guess, or just getting out in the world, or talking with friends, or just doing something that's not just from a game. And I think we're kind of in that zone where I'm playing a lot of games that feel like they are influenced by games, and we're kind of getting into this like diminishing returns era where I'm starting to see the same thing over and over. Maybe people disagree. Maybe that's just me because I'm old and jaded and been around for so many generations of game development. I've seen so many things. Maybe I'm just picking up on things that perhaps would not be a bother to somebody who was coming into games, in a newer sense than I was. So who knows? That was just my general takeaway. But there were a few high points for sure. There's always a couple good high points. I think Darwin's Paradox is the one that my entire family got the most excited about. It's about a Pixar looking octopus who gets dropped off somewhere, and he's got to like crawl around, and he can use his camouflage abilities to hide from places. Looks like kind of a 2.5D platformy slash stealth thing. And just the idea of having an octopus on land doing stuff is just really kind of a fun idea. So I dug that one. There's a Liza P DLC coming. I knew it's been coming for a while. I was honestly surprised it isn't out already, but looking at this video they showed, it looks like way bigger than I thought. Like, it looks like whole new territory, a bunch of new enemies, a bunch of new bosses. Like, it looks just like a new Liza P, but on a smaller scale. So it seems like the scope of it is much larger than I was expecting. I thought maybe we just get like one tiny new area that would slot into the main game, couple weapons, like the typical DLC you might expect. But it seems like they've really gone above and beyond. And I really liked Liza P quite a bit. It's probably my favorite Souls-like that is still within the Souls bucket. That doesn't really go too far afield. I think it's definitely within the same track. But these guys at the Liza P development studio, they really know what's going on. So props to them. I enjoyed that. I finished Liza P. It definitely gets hard at times. I will say they could ease back on the difficulty. That would be welcome. I think they go a little bit too hard. But overall, I really had a lot of respect for Liza P. So I would be very interested in playing some DLC. That would be great. Was very surprised to see Days Gone Remastered announced. If you ask me, Days Gone is one of the best open world games of basically all time, for a number of reasons. I think the open world is really compelling. I think it's really fun to be on a motorcycle and to be able to drive all over the place and dodge zombies and wild animals and stuff. And I think the world is just a good one. But also what makes it good is the campaign is excellent. And I think the characters, more than anything else, main characters of Deke and Boozer, are just fantastic. They've got one of the best relationships I've ever seen portrayed in a game because it feels so genuine and so real. These two biker guys who are just buddies who've got each other's backs. And they do, they seem kind of bro-y at first, but the longer you spend with them, the more you see they are really well-crafted, well-rounded characters who've got depth to them. They've got thoughts, they've got desires, they've got regrets, they've got all sorts of feelings. I mean, they're just so great written. And they're both, all the voice acting in this game is phenomenal. Like, I think all the voices are just on point, especially the leads are so good. There's lots of twists and turns in the writing, the characters. It just really sold me. I was really, really involved with these characters, and I really wanted to see what would happen with them. The game is much longer than you might expect, but it actually earns every minute of it. Like, I never felt like it was too long. I never felt like it was dragging on. Like, I was always eager to see what happened next. And I think a lot of people just don't give Days Gone the props it deserves. For a number of reasons. I think it came out, well, honestly, too soon. They pushed it out for the PlayStation 4, and if memory serves, it ran really poorly on the PS4. It's a big game with a lot of stuff going on. There's hordes of zombies, big open world, all sorts of things happening, and just the PS4 wasn't ready. Now, I don't have my documentary facts all lined up here, but if I remember correctly, the studio didn't want to put it out for the PS4 because they knew it wasn't quite there, but I believe Sony was pressuring them to get it out as an exclusive, and it just came out, and it was a shit show. I remember getting torn up in the reviews, people saying it ran so crappy, and it was janky to play, and people were tired of zombies and tired of open world or whatever, and it just really got kind of a collective cold shoulder. But I didn't play it until a little bit later. I believe the first time I ever played it was on the PS5, and oh my gosh, like, it was just, what an incredible experience. Obviously, the extra horsepower available in the 5 helped it out. And it played fine, like totally butter smooth. I had no problems with it whatsoever. So whatever patching and stuff, but just everything about it was just so great. So I'm really happy to see Days Gone Remastered. I really hope it gets a second chance at life. I believe there's not really much hope for a sequel because the original dev team broke up. I think they moved on to other projects or something happened. It's been a while, and I know that there was some bad blood between the studio and Sony. They felt like they kind of got the bum's rush on that one. So not hoping for a sequel, but I think more people really do need to appreciate Days Gone. I think it's one of the unsung masterpieces of the PlayStation library, and it's definitely one of my all-time favorites. In fact, I have some framed art of Days Gone. I've played through it all the way, did everything, watched my wife play through it. And in fact, I believe we did an entire episode of So Video Games, Carlos and I, just about Days Gone, and we almost never do that, but it was really warranted, I think. So happy to see that one. Midnight Walk stuck out to me. That one looks like a Burton-esque kind of really dark, nightmarish horror show. It looks absolutely just like terrifying. So the art style in that is just through the roof. So curious to see what that one's going to be like. And I think the last one that really kind of caught my attention was Saros, Saros, coming from Housemarque and starring Rahul Kohli, he played Ravi on iZombie. He was in Midnight Mass. He was the sheriff guy there. He's a great actor, and he's also, I know, a gamer. I've seen him on Twitter a number of times talking about just game stuff and 40K stuff and whatever. So seems like the perfect choice to take the lead in a game. Seems kind of like a step forward after Returnal, which was the big hit on PlayStation a couple years ago, which I did play and I did finish. We talked about it endlessly on the show, and I've got a lot of mixed feelings on it. A lot of cool concepts, but I felt like the story was really obtuse and hard to figure out, and the gameplay made a lot of very strange choices that I thought were kind of like anti-player in kind of a get-good way, which I did not appreciate. I did finish it, though. I actually did. So it seems to be kind of like the next step in that, and I'm kind of curious to see what they do after Returnal. Will they keep going in the same vein? Will they take some feedback that they got from people? Will it be totally different altogether? Who knows? So that was the PlayStation State of Play showcase exhibition thing, whatever. Yeah, it's all right. It's all right. It's not something that lit my world on fire, but I think there was some good stuff, although a lot of stuff that I kind of shrugged at, and I don't know. We'll see how it goes. I think that's the takeaway. We'll see how it goes. Otherwise, got some absolutely fantastic news. It's coming a couple days late. The big announcement was a couple days ago, but huge congratulations to John over at Gaming in the Wild podcast, because I had no idea that sneaky little guy had been working on a huge project with Lost in Cult. He was actually the author of Ultros Design Works, which is a fantastic, amazing looking book, which goes into the creation of the game. Tons of like art, all sorts of stuff in there. It's funny because I got PR. I got embargoed PR for Ultros Design Works from the publisher, and they were like, "Oh, hey, did you want to check this out? Like, here's this thing. It's a secret. We haven't talked about it." And I read the PR release, and I'm like, "Oh, damn, this looks amazing. I should probably tell John because I know he loves this game." And I sent him a DM. I'm like, "Yo, bro, did you see this? Like, check this out." And he's like, "Yeah, I wrote that." And I'm like, I felt like the biggest asshole. But to be fair to me, it was all secret, man. I had no idea there was a book. I didn't know John was working on it. He did a great job of sticking to embargo. So kudos to you, sir, for being Mr. Secret Agent Man, keeping it under your hat. So I felt a little bit silly. But anyway, the Design Works is out. You can order it now. It just looks fucking fantastic. Looks really, really high quality. Beautiful design. It's a real collector's piece. And if you like Ultros, or if you like the other Design Works that Lost in Cult has put out earlier, you will know the kind of quality that we're talking about here. So check it out. It's not shipping quite yet. I believe it's shipping Q4 this year. And you have got lots of time to order. I believe it's available now to order. And I think the ordering cuts off on April 1st, I think. So this is only February 16th. You got plenty of time to get your order in and check that out, which you, of course, will want to do. All right, folks, just about to dive into the main portion of the show here. Before we do, just a quick bit of compliance with FCC regulations by mentioning that all the games covered today have been provided free of charge for coverage purposes. And as y'all know, again, before the main section, I do like to start the show with circlebacks, where I circle back to things that I've covered in depth on previous episodes. Not going to get into everything again right now, not all the details, but just kind of a quick update to let you know if my thoughts have changed on something for better or for worse after spending more time with it. This week, I got 2 circlebacks, actually. All right, first up is Gears Tactics. Talked about this one last week. It's been on my 2 playlists for like forever. It's on Game Pass, so anybody can dip in if you have Game Pass. So basically, quote-unquote, free of charge. I love Tactics, as y'all know, and I'm not the biggest fan of like the Gears franchise or the Gears IP, but I do love Tactics, and I was curious to see what they would do with the formula, how these things would combine. Impressions were super favorable last week. I thought the actual gameplay structure they created was fantastic. Since Gears, the third-person action game, is all about stop-and-pop cover-based shooting, and one of the real first notable titles in that genre, they did a masterful job of converting that to turn-based strategy, where you really lean on Overwatch quite a bit, but it makes perfect sense because Overwatch is kind of the equivalent of stop and pop, one being real-time and one being turn-based. So I thought that was great. Graphics were great. Every cutscene looks like a full-fledged movie. Lots of environment, storytelling and stuff like that. It all looks really good, and I think the systems are great. I think the skill trees were good. I mean, everything about it is great. I love it, but I will say most people told me ahead of time that it does start to feel repetitive and it does go on for too long, and I do have to agree with that. I am a little bit surprised, but I ended up bouncing off of it, and I didn't finish. I got maybe like maybe a third of the way through the campaign, and I just started noticing there was nothing really new popping up. No new classes, no new interesting weapons. I mean, I was getting gear like modifications for my armor and weapons, which were like, they were okay. Like more damage reduction. Maybe you'd get like a little bonus to one of your powers or something, but nothing that really changed how you played, really. And honestly, I bet you could probably forget most of that stuff and it wouldn't really make that much of a difference. There were no other class. I mean, I think there's one more class in the game, the engineer, which I hadn't gotten to yet. But other than that, I looked it up ahead of time. There's only 6 classes in the entire game, and I had 5 basically from the start. So there wasn't really a whole lot of new to look forward to. There's no strategic layer like in XCOM where you're not building a base, you're not researching new weapons, you're not researching vehicles, you're not researching new classes. What you have is what you have, and I think they really count on the story to carry the experience forward. And that was all fine and good, but then I started just hitting like recycled content, like recycled maps, recycled objectives, like, rescue the prisoners. Okay, really cool the first like 1 or 2 times you do it, but then you do it like a bunch more times, and it's like, okay, I've done this already, and there's nothing really different about this one. Same thing with like, sabotaging enemy emplacements or whatever. It just started feeling very repetitive, and I knew from looking at wikis and stuff that there wasn't really anything going to be coming down the pike. It was basically what you've got is what you've got, and then you just kind of push your way through the campaign, which I think is a shame because I think the graphics are great. The structure is great. The game, like everything about the game is great. They just needed like an extra layer or 2 of stuff to crunch through and to make the campaign a little bit shorter, I think. It's a shame. It's like 3/4 of a fucking amazing tactics game. They just needed that last little bit to give you something to do to kind of keep it feeling fresher. Like, give me some new technology to look forward to. Give me some new classes to look forward to. Something that changes throughout the campaign that really mixes it up. It just didn't feel like it was going to get there, and it started feeling like too repetitive. So I bounced, deleted it. Strong first impression, but that's exactly why I do the circle backs, right? Like if you would ask me last week, I'd be like, oh, this game's dope. I love it. Fantastic. And I was planning to roll credits, but then as I put more time into it between last show and this show, you start to see, okay, I think I've seen the measure of it now. I don't see anything new coming, and I don't really want to grind ahead to this game for, another 30 or 40 hours if nothing's going to be different about it. So it came so close to being like an all-timer, like honestly. I love the systems. I love the way it feels. I love the speed of combat. It's got so much going for it. It just needed more, and I don't think it got there. It just needs something extra to satisfy the strategic craving in my brain. The combat is great, but I need more than that, something else. So I bounced, unfortunately. That's a bummer, but there you go, Gears Tactics. Give it a shot if you want to just check it out, especially if you got Game Pass and if you like tactics. I think it's worth playing a couple hours just to kind of see their approach to it and how it's different from other games. It's really well done. It's just a shame. So there you go. My other circle back is Vampire Survivors. So I talked about this a while ago. They just recently put out a new DLC that was Castlevania themed, which was neat. Really good stuff. And Vampire Survivors is just like an all-timer. My wife plays it like every day. She's still unlocking tons of stuff. I still play it when I get a few minutes. One run here, one run there. It's great stuff. Really wonderful. But I was watching my wife play it the other day, and she selected a thing, and I'm like, what the hell are you playing? And she's like, what do you mean? I'm like, I have never seen this game mode before, and I've got all the DLC, and I've played a bunch of stuff, and she's unlocked a bunch of stuff that I haven't, and vice versa. And I go, what the fuck mode are you even playing? She's like, Adventures, what about it? And I'm like, what? I've never even seen this before. What are we doing? And so she had inadvertently unlocked the Adventure mode, which I didn't even know existed. And I was totally blown away. She was playing an entirely different type of Vampire Survivors I hadn't seen before. And she's like, well, this is the multiplayer one. And I'm like, what? What are you talking about? I heard there was multi a while ago, but I didn't know the details. I didn't know there's a whole extra mode. So I started watching her, and I'm like, oh shit, there's like 5 whole campaigns here. I hesitate to call them story campaigns, but they are campaigns where they give you specific objectives that you have to do survive 10 minutes here, survive 15 minutes there, find this item, kill this monster, whatever. So they're pretty simple and straightforward, but it gives you something else to do. And also it feels very different. You're limited to the characters you can choose. You are limited to the power-ups you can get. And the difficulty is cranked up for sure. Like, she and I have been through Vampire Survivors so many times, but she was dying on that one. And she's like, what the fuck? This is like so hard. And I'm like, oh my God, it is. So there's like this whole other mode. If you haven't unlocked it, and I'm guessing probably people out there like me who feel like they're really familiar with Vampire Survivors but haven't unlocked it, there's like a whole other fucking thing in there for you. I was really blown away. So check out Vampire Survivors Adventures. 5 little campaigns in there to pick away at. If you don't know how to unlock it, I can't tell you that. But just look it up, Google it or whatever, DuckDuckGo it, find it, and then you can unlock it pretty easily. I think I unlocked it my very first time. And then you can have this adventure mode. And it is correct in what my wife said. There is co-op. It's couch co-op. I don't think you do it online, but I joined her on her couch and we played 2-player. It was still a challenge. We did not just blow through it. The interesting thing about this is that one person gets a power-up, the next time the other person gets a power-up, and you go back and forth and back and forth. So you can't really power level really quickly. There's a reduced number of enemies, even though they're tougher, so you don't get as much experience as you used to. And sometimes when you get a power-up, you gamble on it, and then it'll go to either you or your partner. So you're not power leveling, you're not double leveling, you're actually half leveling, it feels like. And you really have to support each other and watch out for each other. It's really tough, but I thought it was really fun, so I thought it's well done. I'm just constantly agog at how much stuff the folks over at Vampire Survivors keep adding to that game. It's just a game that keeps on giving. So big ups, big props to Vampire Survivors. I thought that was great. Adventures is cool. Check that out for sure. All right, we are now into the actual main portion of the show. Got quite a bit of things to cover today, and a lot of surprises, I guess. I don't know. Surprises? Maybe. Let's see. Where shall I start? Let's kick it off with Elden Ring Nightrein. So the closed beta network test thing has just wrapped up as of the time I'm recording on this. There was, I think, 3 days that people could get in on the closed beta, and you had to request a code ahead of time. There was a big sign up. I did get a code, fortunately, and a couple other people I know got one as well, so I jumped in. And I watched the trailer, and I kind of knew vaguely what it was about. So they take the Elden Ring assets and the world, chunks of the world, monsters, bosses. They remix it a little bit. And from the video, it looked like a boss rush almost, but that's actually not what it is. I was kind of surprised when I jumped in. I think the best way to describe it is they take the guts of Elden Ring, the basics, the combat system. They tweak some things. Take away the fall damage. They change the way you level. They change the way magic works. I mean, they change a lot of it, but it does feel basically like Elden Ring. And then they crossbreed it with Fortnite. And I was a little surprised to see that so much Fortnite was in this. Basically what happens is you get into the game. It's the beta, so not all the character types were there. You have, I think, ultimately there will be 8 character types and maybe more later on in the future, but they've announced 8. You only had access to 4, and I tried, I think, 2 or 3 of them and jumped in with those. You pick a character, the game auto matches you up with 2 randos. I know that there's going to be the ability to play with friends. There's a password system, so if you have a crew, you can meet up with your crew, and that's all fine. But this is just the test, and I didn't have any friends who else I wanted to play with, and whatever. So I jump in and play with 2 randos. Then you get dropped off in the map. You don't get to choose where you get dropped off, which is weird because in Fortnite you do. But here you just get dropped off. And then the point of it is you run around and just kill stuff to level up as much as you can. And you're also finding items that you can use. And there's other random items as well. And then at the same time you're doing this, just like with the storm in Fortnite, there's a ring of fire that surrounds the map, and it will slowly get smaller and smaller and smaller. So you're rushing around, killing monsters, getting getting experience, killing enemies for experience, killing bosses, whatever. And then the storm or the fire pushes you towards a central location more and more. And then when you get to the central location, there's a boss, big boss battle. And then after you kill that boss, there's another day. You do that one more time. And then after that, there is a third day, which is just the final boss. So it's 2 full days of running around in the map, capped off by just a boss battle. And as far as I know, from what I've heard, the only new content in the game are those boss battles. So I gotta be honest, first impressions were not great. I realize it's just a beta test. A lot of the systems are not in the game. There's obviously some kind of a level up system that is between matches, like when you're back at the hub. It seems like there's some kind of items you can equip. I don't know what the permanent progression is, whether you have a character that gets stronger over time or how that works exactly. I mean, there's a lot of questions about the details of this game, so I don't want to pass judgment too soon, especially with all of the vendors and everything were like not there in the game. It was just basically just to test the network capacity. But I gotta say, I just was really not liking it very much. I don't think that the Elden Ring system of combat really lends itself towards the rush, fast action of something like Fortnite. I was watching YouTuber Iron Pineapple, one of the only ones I watch regularly, actually. And he got in on this beta test, I guess, flew people out to Vegas to play, all the big Souls people. And his first thing that he said about it was, he said it feels like a fan mod. And I thought that was kind of funny, but like now that I played it, I'm like, oh yeah, he's like totally on point. It does feel like something that a fan would cobble together themselves. And it would be amazing if it was a fan, but coming from it feels like a little janky and weird, and like it doesn't quite hold together. And I have to wonder if it's really going to work. I mean, I feel like running around doing Souls combat in these little villages to kill guys so you can level up, it just felt like so rushed and weird, and like there's time pressure for everything, and everything felt quite difficult. I got killed by larger enemies in the field pretty often, like that golden hippopotamus motherfucker who can eat shit and die, and the big swarm of ants that got dropped off on me. It just felt very, very difficult and awkward, and like messing with your items and stuff when you're in a rush is weird, and just the gameplay didn't feel very polished, and it just felt like putting a square peg in a round hole. Like it just didn't quite fit for me. We were just, running around and doing stuff, and it was hard to get the measure of it. Of course, again, this is just first impressions off a network test. I mean, there's lots of systems. I don't know what the tutorial is like. I don't know what other things will be added to the game, but just doing that whole thing just felt like it didn't work. Like it just wasn't working for me. And then getting to the boss, I don't think I completed even the first day. I was always with randos, and I think this is the kind of game that is really going to only be fun if you're with partners. Like if you have a headset on and you're talking to people and you've talked ahead of time about who's going to do what, and you all coordinate and stay together, like it's probably a much better time. But like playing with randos was so difficult. Nobody was helping each other out. We didn't really know what objectives we were going for. And plus the game is just still kind of a big question mark anyway. So it was tough. I got to the first night's boss like multiple times, and we just got creamed by him every single time. A couple of the characters I was using, the witch and the duchess, I think, they would like get one shot by the boss. And I'm like, this is stupid. Like I just spent all this time running around this stupid world, earning stuff and getting items and everything, and putting up with all this clunky gameplay just to get like one shot at the boss and hoping for your teammates to revive you. I don't know. It just wasn't working for me. I got to say I cooled down a lot. I thought this was going to be more like Monster Hunter, where maybe you just to go after a boss and kind of fight it that way. But Fortnite and Elden Ring is not two things I thought were going to go together. Who knows? I mean, will I give it a shot when the final version comes out? I mean, probably, but I'm not going to drop any money on this. I think it's $30 or $40 brand new. And the collector's edition, $200. I don't know what comes involved in it. I thought I saw a helmet or something or some crap that you get. Like I'm not in the market for that stuff anymore. So if you're got money to burn and you got, you like this, I mean, go for it. I'm not going to spend $200 on it, but I think I'm going to hold off. I don't think, after my time with it, I'm not interested anymore. I think it kind of told me what I needed to know. And, this is not the kind of experience that I want. Like when I play Souls, I'm going to take my time. I want to tweak my build. I don't want to be rushed too much. I want to approach things the way they want to approach them. And I don't know. It just doesn't feel right to me. Maybe my mind will change once I see the full thing, but based on this test period, I think I'm out. I am out. Next up is a game that I'm currently playing on the Switch. It's called Hook, and it's a little bit of an older one, released in 2019. I had forgotten all about it, but in preparation for the Switch 2, which I am actually quite excited about, I'm kind of going through all of the games on the Switch that I bought that I didn't have time for. I've got like a crazy ass backlog. I mean, honestly, I think my backlog on the Switch is probably more than like 1,000 games. I'm not even exaggerating. That's probably a pretty accurate number. Of those games, a lot of them I probably will never come back to. So I'm kind of just going through and finding the games that I really think are interesting or that were worth a second look. And this was one of them. I remembered Hook from back in the day, and I had a great time with it. I put it down for some reason and kind of forgot about it, but reviewing the list, it brought it back up, and I'm really glad I came back to it. So basically, this is a minimalist puzzle game. And in fact, I think it may be one of the most elegant video games I've ever seen in my entire life. If elegance is doing a lot with a little, I think very few games do it better than Hook does. It almost looks like abstract art when you look at it. The premise is that you need to... you're presented with these, I don't know, mass of lines and intersections, and it kind of looks like a little rat's nest sort of a thing when you look at it on screen. It's like a white screen, a tangle of lines, and like that's it. Like it's super minimal, super, clean aesthetic, like hyper clean aesthetic. And so there are nodes along the periphery of these tangle of lines, and when you push one of those nodes, it retracts some of the lines. And the goal is you want to retract all the lines to make them all disappear and clean up the board so that there's nothing on the board. It's just flat white. That sounds pretty easy, but the thing is that these lines kind of intersect in a certain way that you have to look at the correct order to do them in. Now, I think this is great because it is a puzzle game, but it's a puzzle game that it really relies on observation. There are no tricks here. There's no sleight of hand. Everything you need to know is presented to you right there, and there's no secret. There's no mystery about it, but you just have to carefully observe what's going on. And then once you know how the game works and what you're looking for, it's just a simple act of, this is the first step and I'm going to do this. This is the second step and I'll do this. And like, you just go step by step, like peeling the layers of an onion back one by one. And that's all it is. It's just about performing the right order of operations. It's so straightforward and simple and relaxing, and yet also really makes you think and really makes you pay attention to what you're doing. The levels are really easy at first, where you just get a couple lines and you're like, oh yeah, this line is the first one. I'll do this one because this one's on top, and then this one's on bottom. I'll do this one. And you kind of just like pick these lines out apart like you're unraveling a knot, basically. And it's fine. But as it goes on, the knots get more and more complex. There's more and more lines. Sometimes a line is curved or bent in such a way so that it'll prevent other lines from moving past it. So you have to kind of figure out how to get that one problem one out of the way. Sometimes there are little rotating spheres that will change the direction of which line will get pulled first, and so you have to figure out which direction you need to pull them in. Sometimes you get a little Wi-Fi signal on there, and it'll shoot a signal across the level, and you got to figure out which Wi-Fi signal you need to follow first. It's all very straightforward. It's really easy to understand once you play it. Looking at it, it's hard to understand what you're looking at, but once you play, you're like, okay, I get it. This makes sense. It's super clean, and it's just so masterful. Like, it is really, really well done. It's an excellent puzzler. I haven't played a lot of games like it, and I really appreciate the minimalism of it and just the cleanliness of it and the aesthetic of it and just the whole concept where it's just like, it's almost like meditation in a way. Like, when I get to one of these harder puzzles, I'll just have to sit and look at it for a while. Just look at it. Okay, which one goes first and what will I have to do here? And is this the right shape? And is this the right line? And if I pull on this one, what happens to the other ones? And you're kind of just absorbing it. And it's just so well done. I just really think it's excellent. A real fucking like art piece of a video game. I think it's marvelous. So definitely a huge thumbs up to Hook. I haven't finished it yet. I'm probably, I think, more than halfway on it. But I'm just so impressed by it. It's very unique, has its own identity, doesn't really play like anything else I've played, and it's just stunning to look at. It's so minimal. I love it. So Hook on the Switch is fucking fantastic. Check that out. Next game up is called Undying. This has been on PC for a while, at least a couple months, if not longer, and it just came to console. This one has a very strong premise. You are in a zombie apocalypse. You play a mother who has just been bitten by a zombie, like in the opening cutscene. This is not a secret. This is like, no spoilers here. This is the premise of the game. Like, you have to know what this is about before you start playing it. So basically, you've got a little son, and you are the mom. You get bitten like in the opening cutscene But in this game, you don't turn right away. You've got a pretty fair amount of time before you turn into a zombie. So you escape back to your house, and you know that you're going to turn at some point. But what you got to do is you got to teach your kid how to survive on their own before you turn. And so that's a fucking killer premise. There's been a couple movies done with this exact premise, and to be fair, I haven't watched any of them because that, as a parent, that is frightening as fuck to me, and I don't know that I would survive the trauma. So I haven't watched any of the movies, but for a game, I think it's a killer premise. I've been fascinated with this one since I learned about it originally 1 or 2 years ago, and I've been kind of following along. Art style is very stylized. Like, the characters don't really have faces. They're kind of these rough shapes. Colors are clean, kind of flat shaded sort of things. Isometric perspective, and you cannot move the camera. That's all fine. And you're kind of just like walking around. The sun trails behind you. You can give him orders. You can tell him, stay, follow me, activate something, or something else. You can give him like 4 basic orders. And where the teaching comes in is that you are walking around, like the first level is your neighborhood. So you're in your house, you check out your house, you've got your various rooms in your house, and then you go outside and there's like stuff to pick up. So like, let's say for example, you find a garbage can and you think there's loot inside of it. So you go to the garbage can, you start rifling through it, push X to rifle through it or whatever. And as you're doing it, it'll say hold R1 to teach your son how to do this. And so you start the action, you hold R1, and you'll say something like, come over here. And then the kid will come over and he'll watch you do that thing. And he will quote unquote like learn how to do the thing. And you've got to do that a number of times in order to teach him the skill. So you basically do that with like everything in the game, which is a cool idea. But I find that it kind of fell down pretty quickly for me, and I noped out of it pretty quickly for a couple of reasons. I think number one, the kid doesn't know anything. And he looks in the game, I mean, I don't know, he's like 10 maybe? I mean, simple stuff like pick up a piece of wood off the ground, or like search that box, or pour yourself a glass of water. Like stuff that he should already know as like a person that lives in the world. You have to do, and most of these things you have to do like many, many times in order for him to really learn it. So, I mean, that wasn't that big of a problem, but a lot of the stuff was like, why am I teaching him this like really basic ass stuff? Like he should be learning about disassembling and cleaning a gun, or like how to field strip an animal in the field that you've hunted or something like that. Not like pour yourself a glass of water. That's kind of weird. So I think that's kind of weird, but not the game killer. The thing that really killed this game for me is I didn't realize how much it relied on crafting. Like this is like incredibly heavy emphasis on crafting. I thought it was going to be more about survival, like dodging zombies, teaching him certain things, but kind of surviving mostly. Maybe some action, maybe killing zombies, maybe dodging them, hiding from them. Maybe even like fortifying a base or meeting other survivors or something. But really, it's about crafting. And so what happens is you start off in your home base. Nothing's fucking working in your house. Every goddamn thing in your house is busted. And so you got to fix everything. And everything requires like, I need 3 bottle caps and 6 rubber bands and 4 pieces of wood. And then you go back and you fix that thing. And there's just like tons of recipes to make and tons of things to craft. And it just quickly devolves into getting just all the shit. And you have a burden limit, so that sucks. You have to like leave stuff and come back for it. And sometimes you got to leave stuff in the box back home. You don't have it with you, but you need it then. You don't have it there. Then you got to go back and get it there and bring the stuff back. And it just feels like a hassle. And there's just so much crafting to do. Basically every single thing in the game that you need. Bandages, food, weapons, fixing your car, anything. It's all just like crafting. And it's not, it's not the most like in-depth crafting I've ever seen in my life, but like it's deeper crafting than I want to engage with. And I thought this game would be more about the other parts of the experience, but it's really, really, really a crafting game, which I'm just kind of not here for. So that really kind of dragged it down quite a bit. I will say also the voice acting in this game is not great. It really kind of put me off. And the dialogue, the translation of the dialogue is also not great. I found a lot of weird phrases and a lot of parts to it that just feel very strange. Like when you find other survivors and you talk to them, it just feels random. Like it's just not believable. It's really hard to kind of relate to what's going on. And it just really boils down to like a lot of grindy crafting that I just wasn't here for. And honestly, I don't think it's the best use of this game. It's an amazing premise. And I think the graphics and stuff are cute enough. I think that all works. I just wish it was like less about crafting and more about surviving or just doing actiony kind of things. I mean, I'm not saying I'm totally against the crafting, but this is just like all crafting all day, all the time, and I'm just not a fan of that. So I noped out of it pretty quickly. If you really like crafting, this might be something to look into, because I think the basic idea is so good. But if you're coming to it for like a zombie experience or a survival experience, or like a you know, I don't know, Last of Us kind of a thing, like, this is not that. I don't think it works. It's too mechanical. It's too item heavy, item focused. It's too crafting focused, and it just kind of loses the emotional engagement that I think it could have had. So a miss for me. But if you're not allergic to crafting, it might be something worth looking into. That was Undying. Played it on PS5. All right, next up is Terry's Other Games. This is on PC. One of the rare times someone has gotten me to play a game on PC, but I think it's worth it. This is a collection of Game Jam games, B-sides, earlier releases from game designer Terry Kavanagh, who is somebody I've known for a long time, just kind of informally through, you know, game review circles and stuff like that. Did an interview with him a long time ago. Has always come up with some really brilliant ideas. You may know some of his larger works. I think he was probably first widely known for VVV. He also did Hexagon, Dicey Dungeons, a couple other things. He's made like dozens and dozens of games, honestly. And, you know, not all of them have been big, but I think they're all really interesting in one way or another. So Terry has got this collection together. I don't know exactly how many games are on it, but there's a bunch of games, and they're all little curiosities. They're all idiosyncratic too. So they're not, you know, none of these games are something that's going to take you 40 hours to get through. They're all smaller experiences. I think probably some of the more substantial things are probably Don't Look Back, which is one of my favorites from back in the day. This is how I first came into Terry's orbit. It was a retelling of a Greek myth, and it was 2D, super pixely, kind of a platformer, and I just was really kind of taken with it at the time. Other games include At a Distance, Naya's Quest, Tiny Heist, Mr. Platformer, and a bunch of smaller stuff that's mostly Game Jam material. The Hunt, Radio Silence, A Proper Cup of Tea, Maverick Bird, and a few others. You know, like real talk, not every game on this collection is going to be for everybody, but that's okay. I think it's really interesting to get a good look at the mental process of a developer like Terry, who's always been kind of like doing his own thing and kind of coloring outside the lines in a good way. And this is exactly the kind of collection that I love to crack into. While I did not play every game or finish every game on here, I think it's useful as a way of just archiving someone's career, but also seeing just their thought process and what they were going through. And this is bolstered by the fact that every time you start up one of these games, there's a little bit of information from Terry himself explaining what he was doing at the time, what he was thinking, how this game came into being, what his thought process was, what his inspirations were. So it's great to hear from the person themselves, like, how did this game come to be? And then actually play the thing and see how it, you know, got onto a computer screen. Pretty cool stuff if you like indie games, indie development, or if you're a fan of Terry's, anything like that. I think it's a really fun, quick look. I mean, you're probably going to breeze through a lot of these. Some of them are pretty tough to play. Some of them are definitely player unfriendly. In fact, there's one of them, I think it was Naya's Quest, where Terry just outright says, this is fun for a developer, but it's terrible for a player because I'm doing all sorts of tricks that were really fun for me to implement, but people did not like playing this one because it didn't feel good to play. And I love hearing that. Like, it's terrible, but I think it's wonderful to hear that. And he's right. Like, once I got to some of the trickier parts, I was like, fuck this, I'm out. But it's great to see what he was thinking and what he was doing. So I just think it's a real nice curio, a nice little archival treat. If you like Terry Kavanagh, if you like indie games, if you like anything along those lines, I think it's absolutely worth checking out. You can get it for a couple bucks on Steam, and just, you know, you go through each game like once or twice, read the notes. It's just like a really cool compilation. So definitely a big thumbs up if you're in the indie circles. Terry's Other Games, available on PC right now. I definitely give it a thumbs up, but just know what you're getting in for. And if that all sounds good to you, then it's definitely worth it. So there you go. Terry's Other Games. Only one more game to talk about here on the show. Stories from Soul, the Gun Dog. So just full disclosure up front, I think this game is amazing. I love this game. It's one of those perfect storms where I got this random PR email from somebody I'd never talked to or met before. They were wanting to promote their game. I took like one look at the screenshot and I'm like, oh shit. if this plays the way that it looks, that's going to be fucking amazing. So I took a risk and put in for the code, and lo and behold, it plays exactly like it looks, and it's just as good. I'm actually kind of like a pig in shit with this one. I think it's really, really good, and I'm digging it. So just know that up front, this one is definitely a winner. I'm not going to keep you in suspense on that. So what is Stories from Soul the Gundog? It's a visual novel, but it's done in old school style. The developers describe it as PC 98 style, and that's kind of an older home computer type thing that was really big in Japan. And I don't think it ever was over here in America. I'm pretty sure it never was. But the style visually is very similar to stuff that we've seen in the past. And the thing it reminds me the most of is Hideo Kojima's Snatcher. The way that they present you hand-drawn pixel art, dialogue choices, moving through an environment with different still scenes. It looks very much like of that time, and I wouldn't be surprised to hear that Snatcher was probably written on a PC 98. That wouldn't surprise me at all. Not going to do that research right now, but it's in that basket. I realize not everybody has played Snatcher, so that's fine. It's also very much like Phoenix Wright. If you have played Phoenix Wright is a lot like Snatcher. So this game is basically a mixture of that kind of presentation. Really cool character portraits that have different animation frames. Cool little sound effects and music to go with it. It's a visual novel, so you're talking to people. You're also navigating through different areas and locations. You're clicking on things to look at them. You are using items on items. So it's kind of like a point and click, but it doesn't feel like your traditional PC point and click. It feels more like this particular style where there are a smaller number of locations, there are a smaller number of characters, a smaller number of items to choose from, because they really kind of want to keep you moving forward like a console game would. They don't want you typing in a text parser or getting lost forever in a million different combinations and stuff like that. So I appreciate that design ethos. I think it's a great one. I think there's lots of room for this particular type of game to grow. And the developers really nail this one. They know exactly what they're doing. They know exactly what makes it work. And it just feels so good to play. So what is it? The story is, I'm not going to spoil everything because there's definitely some big surprises in this game. So I'm not going to spoiler free. But just from looking at the trailers and the art, it looks like a mixture of Gundam and Phoenix Wright, and like I said, Snatcher if you're old enough to remember that. But basically, you're a soldier who is a pilot in one of these giant mech suits that looks a lot like a Gundam style mech suit. You begin the game in a battle, things go wrong, and then after that, you run into some trouble and you get assigned to a new ship. And I'm being kind of obtuse here. I don't want to give everything away. So you get to this new ship, and then you have to go and explore a strange happening out near Jupiter or something like that. So I don't want to say any more. I feel like there's a lot more to talk about. There's tons more to talk about, but I feel like discovery is really a huge joy in this game, and I don't want to strip that from anybody. But let me just say, the story takes some turns I was not ready for that are very good. Twists and turns, surprises. This is not the game that I thought it was going to be, and I say that in the best possible way because I was extremely pleasantly surprised by what happened. And I'm having a ball of a time. So it's definitely a visual novel for sure. Smaller scale, think Phoenix Wright. Presenting evidence, talking to people, but just not quite as in-depth as that. Definitely smaller scale, which is fine. I will say that the writing is awesome in this game. It's so good. As somebody who really critiques writing a lot and who does writing and edits writing, I spend a lot of time thinking about writing. The writing in Gundog is amazing. It is economical. It is full of personality. It is to the point and concise, but it's also got flavor. It's funny. It's natural. I mean, it's everything that I love in game dialogue. I think it's really great. The characters, you immediately feel something for them, even though you've only talked to them once or twice. The character art is definitely tops. I love the character art as well. When you choose the game's options, you have three choices. You've got your basic bare bones, monochrome. You've got an upscaled one a little bit, and then you've got the most high tech, which has colors and different shading. I picked the high tech one because I think it just looks good, but they're all, kind of 16-bit-ish sort of approach, but they all look great. It's really, really good. Everybody's portrait is awesome. I think they're all easily identifiable, memorable. You can tell who they are just by their mannerisms. It's so emotive, and it really gets the job done. And as people who listen to this podcast know, I do not often talk about music in games. It's just not something that I spend a lot of time on. But I will say that the tunes in this game are on point. They are all exactly what they should be. Every scene has a backing track, and there's not like a million tracks. I mean, to be fair, there's like a handful of tracks. There's like the action track. There's the I'm thinking about stuff inquisitive track. There's the surprise track. So you know what the tracks are. They sound exactly like what they need to sound like. And they just are they're perfectly perfect. They just sound so good. I've been listening to them and I just really enjoy the chiptune sound of them. I think they're all very good. Everything about this game is just great. I love the twists and turns, love the characters, love the music, love the writing. And I really love the small pared down style because I'm not the biggest fan of point and click games. And again, this is not a point and click, but it's got elements of it. It's definitely more of a visual novel, but I appreciate it's not just one of those visual novels where you just read and read and read and read and read and read. Like you do things like you're searching places, you're talking to people, you're making choices, and apparently, according to the developers, there's quite a few places where the story can branch. I will say the branches are fairly subtle, or at least I'm pretty sure they're subtle. I definitely feel like I've made a couple choices without intentionally making those choices, which is not bad at all. I think it's just kind of a nuance to the way the game is put together, but there's probably a lot more choices than I'm aware of, but I'm kind of going through it at my own pace and just making the choices I want to do, and things are going along really well. I'm just really tickled. This is a very well put together game. I think the aesthetics are on point. The concept is on point. The writing's on point. Everything about it is really good. If you like excellent visual novels, if you like Phoenix Wright, Snatcher, that kind of thing, if you're interested in sci-fi, it's all really, really good. It's all really, really good. Okay, so that said, it's not perfect, right? I'm playing this game pre-release. It does not release until, I think, tomorrow or the near future anyway. So there are no walkthroughs available. There's no YouTuber who's gone through the whole game yet. And playing a game in that situation is always kind of like a delight and also a horror, because it's delightful if you have no problems and you're going through it and you're having a good time. And I am. I love this game. Let me be clear. I love this game. I think it's excellent. Very excellent. But the problem is, I know for me, for a fact, I also struggle with point and clicks. And sometimes the way that my brain works is not the same as other people's brains. I don't always get in that point and click or visual novel groove. And I have hit a few places in the game, mostly in the mid to late game, where I need to figure out a certain action to do, and I just can't figure it out. So I've been emailing with the people on the team being like, hey, I love your game a lot, but like I need some help. And they've been super cool about it and giving me some tips without spoiling the whole thing for me, which is nice. But I will say I have hit difficulty. Now, this is probably not even an issue once the game comes out, because if I could have YouTubed something or gone to GameFAQs or just looked up a walkthrough on Steam or something, no problem. I would have been through it and I would have not even really a complaint. But I think this particular review situation really kind of highlights how steps have to be taken to make sure that different brains can get through a game. And if you don't click with a specific brainwave, it can be a real stopping point. So for example, some of the places I've gotten stuck was like, maybe I was in a room and I needed to find a specific clue, but finding that clue was kind of this weird kind of kludgy ordering of like look, then use, or perhaps use, then look. And if you don't do them in exactly the right order, maybe it doesn't trigger the right thing. So you think you've looked there, but you really haven't, because you should have chose one action or the other. Sometimes it's about using an item a specific way. One place where I got stuck was I had an item in my inventory, and the way that it showed up in the UI was really funny. And so I wasn't aware of what I was looking at. And I looked at it like a dozen times and I didn't realize what it was. And I'm trying not to be spoilerific here, but I looked at it. I didn't understand it. And then my hand slipped, like literally just slipped, and I pushed a button I didn't mean to push. And then once I pushed that button, I'm like, oh, I get it now. But I was stuck because my brain just wasn't processing what they were trying to show me. So that was a big sticking point too. So I've had a couple pretty hard stops in the mid to late game where I've just been really stumped and I've really had to like bash my head against the wall. And I've even gotten to the point where, that desperation point in a point and click where you go to every room and you use every item on everything, just hoping that one of these things are going to connect. Like when you get to that point, I think that's a bad thing. And so I will say, I do think that the developers could be a little more clear in some of the challenges. I think they could be a little bit more lenient. And if they don't want to change the puzzles, at least give some kind of a hint system. For example, I was trying to get to a specific room. I needed to get in this room. I couldn't get in the room and I couldn't figure out why. I didn't know what to do to make it there, but I knew I needed to get there. And so I was trying everything I could do, and a hint kept popping up that said something along the lines of like, I know there's more evidence to find. I should try something else. And I'm like, yes, I get it. I understand I need to try something else, but I have no idea. It would be way more helpful. And this is not a spoiler. I'm making this up, pulling it out of my ass. It would be way more helpful if instead of saying, this is not going to work, I should try something else, they should say something like, gosh, maybe I should go back to the inventory room, or, maybe there's something in my room that I forgot. Like, at least direct me to the room where the thing is at, because even though this is not a huge game and there's a small number of possibilities, if you're stuck, you're stuck. And hitting that brick wall and just not really seeing any way through it is kind of frustrating. So, is it that the developers need to put in some more clues? Wouldn't hurt. Are the puzzles too cryptic? In general, I wouldn't say so. I think it's just a matter of just my brain is not on the same wavelength as theirs. So that's, maybe it's a me problem, maybe it's a them problem, maybe it's an us problem. I don't know. So they could give a couple more concessions. But like I said, they have been very open and willing to give me clues, which have been keeping me moving along. And once this game comes out, I'm sure somebody's going to have an entire walkthrough like the day after release. And then that's probably going to be like a moot point, basically. But that's my real only complaint, is I think that there have been some sticking points. But beyond that, I've just been having a whale of a time with this game. I'm loving the aesthetics, the sound, the graphics, the writing, the themes, the twist in the story. Like, everything about it has just been fucking great. I just really, really like it a lot, despite being stuck. And that really says something, right? Like, I have a pretty low tolerance for frustration these days, and I've been known to bounce on games after being stuck for 5 minutes and just being like, fuck this. But the fact that I am still plugging away at this game, that I don't want to give up, that I definitely want to see it to the end, really says everything I need to say about it. Because, if you know me, if I'm sticking through something through thick and thin, it's worth sticking through. So that is a fact. I was really hoping to have it wrapped up by now. I wanted to give an official So Videogames review and a score. Unfortunately, I haven't rolled credits yet. I'm kind of stuck again. But once I do roll credits, and I will, you have my word on that, I will. By the time you listen to the next episode, I'll have an official review, score, and I'll let you know what I thought of this game. But so far, it's a fucking winner. I'm so in love with it. I think it's great. So that is Stories from Seoul, the Gun Dog. Fantastic stuff. All right, folks. Game portion of the show is now officially done, but like many humans, I do spend a few minutes a week in front of screens that don't have menus or life bars. That's right. It is time for the TV and movie roundup. All right, first up, I want to circle back on the Netflix series A Man on the Inside, starring Ted Danson. It's about he is a senior citizen guy who has nothing to do, and he gets recruited to become a spy to infiltrate a nursing home to find out who is stealing all their shit. Just finished the last episode. I think there's 8 episodes altogether. It was really great. It was like a winner all the way through. Ted Danson does a great job. The entire cast does a great job. The story, funny, but also bittersweet, and also outright just really tear-jerking in a few places. They really deal with the reality of getting older in America, where we just really shit on our old people. We have no respect for old people whatsoever. And so I really appreciated that. Although I will say the setting, this nursing home, I've been in many nursing homes, and this nursing home is the most posh, well-to-do nursing home I've ever seen. I mean, this nursing home would be like $15,000-$20,000 a month if you were to put your folks in here. So it definitely feels like fiction on that side. But knowing that it's fiction, the issues still stand: the loneliness, the isolation, the declining faculties, the memory issues. It's just a great series all the way through. Really human, really heartfelt, and just a great watch all the way. A Man on the Inside is fucking fantastic. We just watched a horror movie from a while back. I want to say it's 2009, called Triangle. Don't want to spoil it. And this movie is just like one giant kind of like surprise. But basically, a woman goes on a cruise with a bunch of friends. Things go wrong at sea, and they get rescued by this ship that's passing by. And then things get all fucked up on the ship. And it was okay. It was okay. The elements in that story were kind of like some fantasy elements, some horror elements, and some were just kind of like, I don't know, I guess a brief examination of the human condition or whatever. The performances were like okay, but it was one of those stories where, and I'm really trying hard not to spoil this, where it really needed to be airtight. Like, everything really needed to come together at the end in order to get a good, like, okay, I got it feeling when you're done. Like, oh, I see what happened. And I just didn't quite, I mean, I understood the movie, it was fine, and I thought they did a good job, but some of the parts of it I thought were kind of a little clumsy. Some of the parts didn't quite exactly make sense, And there were a couple of the parts where me and the wife were kind of looking at each other, scratching our heads, being like, well, that's not how that would have gone. That's kind of weird. But overall, it's an interesting concept. And again, I'm trying hard not to spoil it because I think discovering what's going on in the movie is really half the enjoyment of the movie. Not the best movie I've ever seen, but I'm glad I watched it. I would never watch it again, but I'm glad I watched it. And I think it's something to think about anyway. So it's not super gory. It's more like mysterious and kind of puzzling and weird and not really like blood and guts or anything. So Triangle was definitely kind of a head scratcher, but kind of in a good way, I guess. So I'm going to, it's like I don't want to give it like a huge thumbs up, maybe like a thumb sideways, I guess, because I kind of enjoyed it, but also it didn't really like land for me all the way, if that makes any sense. Speaking of other movies, the guy who made Psycho Goreman, which is awesome. I love Psycho Goreman. If you have not seen Psycho Goreman, the movie, go fucking like pause the podcast, go stream it, or like whatever, go to your local video store if that even exists anywhere near you, if that's still a thing. Whatever, steal somebody's DVD, whatever. Go watch Psycho Goreman right now, which is fucking amazing. It's like a really twisted take on like kind of like Power Rangers aesthetic type TV. Really, really great stuff. I think Psycho Goreman is amazing. One of my favorite films of recent years, and my wife and I still quote it to each other like all the time. But the guy who made Psycho Goreman came back and made a sequel called Frankie Frico. This one is about a guy in an office who's just like really, really boring and just like so milquetoast and flat. He ends up calling a 1-900 hotline, and if you don't know what that is, I guess Google it. That used to be a real big thing back in the day, where you would call a toll charging phone number. Usually it was for phone sex, but like you could also do other things as well. Group chat, meeting people in your area, etc., etc. That's where that meme comes from. The meet singles in your area or whatever that meme is. Anyway, this guy calls the number, and on the other end of the line is this weird like psycho puppet who appears in his house, starts wrecking shit. And at first they're like at each other's throats, but then they kind of have this like mutual, ceasefire, and they kind of become friends and they party. And it's weird. It's weird and goofy. And I will say I didn't like it as much as Psycho Goreman. It's still good and it's worth watching, but like some parts of it had me like rolling, like really, really funny. And some parts of it I was like, that joke didn't really land, and that wasn't quite funny. It's fucking weird as shit, though. And if you're in the mood for a really weird movie, I think it really fits the bill. Seeing these puppets run around with this guy and just kind of like fight and shoot stuff and puke and drink, and it's just kind of weird. It's just super weird with a capital W. So it was all right. Another kind of thumb sideways. Psycho Goreman was like 2 big thumbs up, and this is just kind of like 1 thumb sideways, but still not regretful that I watched it at all. And the last movie I'm going to talk about is called Nocturne. This is one of the Blumhouse films from recent years. This one is really strange, but I actually really liked it a lot. And I noticed that reviews were very split on it. So I'm definitely it was a big thumbs up for me. Basically, there is a girl who goes to a music academy, and she is struggling. She finds a notebook, a music theory book, that has been left behind by a girl who committed suicide. So she finds this music theory book, and the book, there's obviously something up with the book. I'm not going to spoil the whole thing, but basically she goes into this book and it influences her, it influences her talent, it influences the world around her. And I think it was just really, really well done. It's super low key. It is a slow burn, and it is not a horror movie in the sense that there's not a monster running around. There's no blood and guts exploding all over the place. It's really cerebral. It's really introspective. I thought it was just really quite good. Now, I will spoil this one, but I'm going to give you a spoiler warning here. So I'm going to tell you the ins and outs of Nocturne just really quick because I think it's worth discussing. So if you don't want to be spoiled on Nocturne, if you plan to watch this, don't listen to this part, but jump ahead a few minutes, and I will put the spoiler warning in the notes. So if you don't want to be spoiled, go look at the notes of the show, and I'll tell you exactly when to jump back in. I'm not just going to spoil this for a second. So spoiler warning for Nocturne. Here it is. Spoiler warning now. So in Nocturne, the girl finds this book, and it becomes pretty clear that this is kind of like a pact with the devil. It's not, no devil ever shows up. No, but she doesn't like cut her hand open with a knife. There's no pentagrams. But just by her opening this book and reading it and kind of keeping it and studying it, like you kind of just get the sense that she has entered into this pact willingly. And the pages in the book outline a series of events that if these come to pass, then her wish will be granted. But I think this is like one of the best ever illustrations of a deal with the devil I've ever seen. Because like the devil never shows up. Like there's never a monster. There's never screaming horror or a staring into a black pit or anything. It's all in this girl's head. And I think ultimately the thing that I really appreciated about it was she wants to get the big performance. She wants to be a better performer. She wants to be a star. And she kind of gets all those things, but they tell it in such a way that it defies what you expect as a viewer. It's not like the usual deal with the devil movie where you get your wish, you're loving life, you're high on the hog for like a month or whatever, and then you go screaming into hell at the end of it. In this particular version, she gets everything that she wants, but everything is miserable. Like she is a better player, but she falls out with her sister. And that relationship is ruined. And so that part is miserable. She can't enjoy it. She gets together with the guy that she wanted, but he freaks out afterwards and he ghosts her. And so even though they hooked up, it's not a relationship that she enjoys. She does get better at performances, but when she does these performances, she blacks out, ostensibly because the devil takes over and performs for her. And so she doesn't remember them. She did the performance. Everybody's congratulating her, but she doesn't remember being there. She didn't live it. She didn't do it. And when she finally gets the big performance at the end, she didn't even do it. It was kind of all in her mind. Like she imagined doing it, but really she left and she jumped off a roof and killed herself. And so I think this subversion of what getting your wish from the devil was just magnificent. Because, I mean, the devil, if you think about it, is the ultimate trickster, the ultimate betrayer, the ultimate person who preys on humanity. And like, what better way than to give somebody exactly what they wanted, but like not in the way that they wanted and in a way that they're miserable the entire time. And even when they do the thing that they want to do, they hate it and they don't want to be there anymore. Like it's ruining their whole life. It's really brilliant, really understated, really elegant. And I can understand why some people didn't like it. Most of the reviews I read who did not like the movie were waiting for a devil to pop up. They were waiting for blood and guts. They were waiting for the black candles and the goat. And it doesn't show up. Like it's all in her head. But that to me was even more effective because it just kind of showed how subtly the devil can ruin someone's life just by influencing them, having them make these poor choices, having them sour these relationships, having them say these mean things. And it just like turned her life to shit. And I just was so pitch perfect and appropriate for what that might actually look like. I thought it was brilliant, honestly. And after the movie, my wife and I had this like huge discussion about what it meant and what it looked like and how they changed the tropes and how it subverted the tropes. And at first we were kind of like stunned a little bit, but then the more we talked about it, like the more brilliant we realized it was. It was really good. It's not a typical horror movie. It's not going to be for everybody. And if you're looking for the goat and the pentagram and the sacrificing a virgin and all that shit, you're not going to get it here. This is all psychological. This is all in this girl's head. But boy, it really worked for me. And I thought it was quite good. All right, folks, that's a show. Before the closing music, would love for you to leave reviews, share the show on social media, and most important of all, please recommend this show to your friends, because nothing beats good old word of mouth. And as always, want to get your questions and comments, please. You can email me directly at sovideogamespodcast@gmail.com or hit me up on social media. You can find me on Instagram and Blue Sky. It's my name, BradGallaway, all A's, no O's. You can also reach me in the So Video Games Discord, which is totally free of charge, y'all. Just drop a line through any of the channels I just mentioned, and we will get you on board to continue this conversation. And finally, if you'd like to support the show and help the cost of running this here podcast, you can do that over at patreon.com/the So Video Games Podcast. Every single dollar helps, and €1 helps that much more. All right, folks, that's going to do it for episode 428. Thank you so much again for joining me here in the So Video Games Podcast, and I'll see you next week.